Hi, this is Ralph Zuranski. I'm on the phone with Ray Perry. She's definitely one of the heroes that I've met on the internet, and she works with parents and single moms, single dads, and full families that are interested in having an entrepreneurial mindset about generating income for their families and also doing homeschooling. Her whole goal is to help every family be able to make money right from their own home and thereby spend more time with their kids. She is an entrepreneur herself and has done a number of seminars. One is called Entrepreneur Days, which I had the opportunity to run the computer and take the photos at, and she has a website called educatingforsuccess.com. Ray, how are you doing today?
Hi, Ralph. I'm doing great.
I know you're a pretty amazing person, just in the idea that you have 7 kids and you're instilling that entrepreneurial spirit in each and every one of them. I know Drew, your 23-year-old, he's actually giving seminars, or he's actually a seminar speaker teaching people how to buy and sell homes on eBay.
Right.
And then Will, 17, he actually is a webmaster that knows how to market. I mean, that's pretty rare for even people that have been in the business for a long time. So how is it that you have 7 kids and you decided that you wanted them all to learn how to make money from home?
Well, that's an interesting question. Actually, my husband is a public school teacher, or was at one time, and that's what he was educated to be, and he did not want me to work. And so we jumped out and got married and started off life and found out real quick that it took a lot more money than he was going to make as a public school teacher to be able to live. And so we started pursuing a couple different options. And during that time, when we started having babies right off, he said, would you homeschool the children? And for 10 years I said no, because even though I have a degree in education, I still wasn't confident in myself that I could do it and that I would be able to provide them with everything they needed. And so we tried everything, all the school options, and everything worked for my oldest daughter because she's very smart and very academic in nature. But then there was Drew, who was a little bit different, and he would probably be labeled ADD if he was tested. And but I never tested him because I didn't want a label put on him. But I knew that he was different, and he just didn't fit in the school situations that he was in. So I started trying a couple different things with him. And so what we basically discovered from trying different things and projects and using real books and practical life experiences was that not all kids learn the same way. And unfortunately, when you have a classroom situation, it's real hard to meet the needs of the people that are different than the norm. And unfortunately, that's what's happening, I think, with a lot of kids that are being put on Ritalin these days, is because they just need to be put into the classroom situation and fit in. Yeah. And teachers are not able to handle them as well because they don't have the time, the resources to be able to spend extra time that they need on that with them. My mother was a public school teacher, and my father was the architect in our county that designed all the schools and the banks. And so education has always been a very important thing in my life. And I just saw that it had a lot of potential, but you know, teachers have so much responsibility, and they just don't have a lot of time. And like I said, they don't have the resources they need sometimes. Excuse me. That they just aren't really in a position to be able to meet everybody in the classroom's needs. And so that's why I started considering homeschooling after my husband had begged me for so long. And I finally gave in and tried doing that after 10 years. And so I just started experimenting with trying to find something that would work for him. And then when I found what we're doing now, I just started sharing it with other people on different Yahoo groups that I was on at the time. And so all of a sudden, the little community that we've developed that's starting to do a lot of different things with us grew out of that little Yahoo group. And I continue to share little things there. Off and on, and we have lots of people that are learning to make money, because it seems like basically education doesn't teach you the practical things so many times that you need to make money in life. And so that's kind of the direction that we've been going with the chats that we have and all. So I've enjoyed having children. I've actually had 10, but I lost 3 because I am old now. but I love children and love working with people in general.
Yeah, well, that's pretty amazing leap of faith. I know so many parents are so strapped, working. Both parents are working 1 or 2 jobs, and the kids just don't really have their parents around. And the beauty of being an entrepreneur is you have tremendous tax advantages
Right.
And homeschooling the kid, you can actually provide education that works for the way that the child processes the information. I know how important that is.
Right. Plus, what has happened with us is when Drew turned 18, he became a real estate investor, and he started buying houses like crazy. And so basically, he was contributing to the family's income. Because a lot of people will say stuff to us like, how can you afford to have 7 children? Because nowadays, if you're trying to live a certain standard of economic position or whatever, stability in life, you want to, life costs money.
Yeah.
And people will usually have just 2 children because they don't think that they can maintain that standard of living that they want if they have more. Well, what happened was when Drew turned 18, he started contributing to the income instead of requiring us to spend more on him. Of course, he did cost money because he was a teenager, but he was actually bringing in way more than he was requiring. And he actually brought my husband home from work. After my husband had taught school for a few years, he went to work. He basically started working on his own as a carpenter and did a lot of remodeling. And then he went to work for a company in Decatur, Alabama, and worked for them for 15 years, I think. But there he also contracted cancer. And so one of his goals was to leave work and come home. And so basically because of what Drew did by buying so many houses and establishing a passive residual income for us through real estate, my husband was able to come home. And so now he's been home for, I think, about 4 years because of our real estate, and Drew did that.
That's
so that's
incredible.
An asset.
That's just amazing. So it is potentially a huge gold mine for parents to show their kids not only how to make some money, but to make a lot of money and build residual income so that they're not strapped every month.
Right.
Well, I've seen you at a lot of conferences, and I've seen Drew and Will there too, learning all the ways to market stuff on the internet, and definitely was inspiring. And so you're definitely one of my heroes for bringing your kids and making an opportunity for people that are homeschooling and just families in general that are financially desperate that need other alternatives just to survive in the world today.
Right. Well, one of the things that I started seeing early on was that parents should be the main mentors in a child's life, and I believe we've had many, many mentors here. In fact, you're one of my mentors, Ralph. I just love the way you take pictures, and you're just a master at photography.
Thank you.
We've had many mentors, and I've seen the importance of bringing different people who are experts in different fields into the lives of my children, and I carefully select those because I've learned that children become like the mentor. They learn the information and the subject matter, but they also become like the person. So I've been very careful who I brought into my children's lives. And so one of my mentors has become Armin Morin. About 4 years ago, I think it was, we became one of his students. And I basically wanted my boys to be with him and to learn from him. And so because of our involvement with him with the big seminar and one-on-one coaching, and now the 3 of us are all in his Platinum Club, my boys have just learned incredible things about the Internet. And my second son, Will, that you mentioned, is a marketing webmaster and actually has his own clients. He's not currently taking any new clients, but he does have his passive residual income that comes in directly from the Internet from what he does with his clients who have websites. And I've just learned that there's so much potential that I want other parents to experience this with their kids too. So what I do is on my Yahoo group, I'll encourage them to go to things like Armin's big seminar, and when they come, bring their young people, their teenagers. Yeah. And so a lot of times you'll see teenagers at Armin's events and at other conferences and all, and usually those are people that are members of our Yahoo group. And several of them, including Dave Mitchell from recordedmoments.com, are part of our Yahoo group because it started off being women, but now it's men and teenagers as well. Dave was actually able to come home from corporate America, and now he is making a living full-time at home from the Internet. And also Joshua, his son, is my main webmaster now, and Joshua is helping David, supplement the family's income too. So, it's incredible to see how all these things kind of work out.
Yeah, well, how important it is to just have your kids be in contact with people that are good role models, which is what the In Search of Heroes program is all about. I think I've selected pretty well from just the large number of people I've met at the conferences, some of the finest individuals that are out there to help with the program.
And you've done a great job, too.
Yeah, well...
And at Big Seminar, there are so many incredible people there that are just doing some fantastic things in life. I'm just amazed every time I go to one of those conferences to see who's there and who I get to meet.
Yeah, it is astounding. You know, you're sitting right next to millionaires and people that nobody even knows about. They're making astronomical amounts of money by understanding how to market things on the Internet.
That's right. Well, and my goal is to create those guys. And that's what I just love it when some of these young guys like Joshua Mitchell, I mentioned my webmaster who's 17. I met him when he was 15, and he didn't really know exactly what he wanted to do, but he loves computers. And so now he is actually my assistant. We're doing a web tech class right now to teach other people how to use the tools of Internet marketing, and he is actually facilitating the webinar for me, so we're co-hosting it, and we're having people on there like Martin Wales from One Shopping Cart, and we had Armin Morin from the Go Generator, the ebook suite, and we have Rick Raditz with Audio Generator and Video Generator, and Perry Marshall, he talks about AdWords, people like that. And so I love hooking up these guys that are called the Internet Millionaires with some of these young teenagers. I mean, I think our youngest person in our class is 13, and hoping that all this is going to click, and down the road it's going to make a significant difference in these young people's lives, so that they end up being the millionaire that's sitting next to you at the conference.
Well, you know, I believe that's true. With the kids, they have an unlimited amount of time, and most of them know how to use computers, and I figure if we match them up with successful business individuals that have high integrity and are truly leaders in their field, that we just have to stand back and watch what those kids will be able to do.
That's right.
Well, you know, Ray, what is your definition of heroism?
Well, heroism basically is based on what you do and not so much who you are, because I think everybody can be a hero. Everybody can be a hero in different ways, but so many times we let fear and timidity keep us from acting, keep us from helping and contributing and doing things like that. And so, to me, the difference between being a hero and not is just stepping out and just doing something. I mean, you've seen the interviews on TV where there's a crisis and a woman's washed away in a river and some guy just jumps in and saves her. Well, there might have been 5 guys standing there on the side, but one of those 5 jumped in and actually took action. And I think that's just the key, is just actually doing something and just deciding that you're going to not be afraid, but you're going to act in faith and just jump in and do something. Yeah.
So you think that a person could be a hero if they just personally get in there and contribute and try and make a positive difference in the lives of other people?
Exactly. That's right.
You know, what is your perspective on goodness, ethics, and moral behavior?
Well, that's a deep subject because I am a Christian, and I believe that all of us struggle with sin and temptation. I mean, that's just part of life. It's not something that you can really get away with. Everybody has to deal with it. Yeah. But it is a way that we can overcome the sin and temptation that we have to deal with on a daily basis, is just by going to God. Jesus died so that we could overcome sin and death as well. And so when we struggle, we just have to go to God and say, okay, God, I'm having a hard time here. I can't get through this unless you help me. You're living in me, and you're living your life through me, and the more I yield to you, the better things go. And the more successful, the more prosperous and all that I will become. And I want to do it for God, in the kingdom of God, and for good ways, for good reasons. But it is an ongoing battle. It's to deal with the sin, especially the way that our culture is getting. It just seems to be that we're becoming more and more of a promiscuous culture. But basically, nobody's good. You can try to act good, but our goodness is based only on the fact that Jesus lives in us. That's it. So. Yeah. Well, I hate to sound religious, but that's it.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. I think that that's an important perspective. I know I'm a Christian too, and I think that it's important to understand how the universe works and just be aware of what God's laws are, because, if there really is a creator and there really is a God, which we believe there is, it's important to actually follow the laws on how the universe works so that we don't make a lot of huge mistakes.
That's right.
And one of the things in the Bible that God's constantly talking about is fear not.
Right.
I think that's probably the most often repeated term in the Bible, and why do you think that is?
because we have such a huge problem with fear. Everybody does in different ways.
You know, isn't that true? I know moms in particular have a lot of fears for their kids. You know, and just everybody has fear of failure in all the different areas of life, fear for their health, fear of accidents. I mean, sometimes I wonder how people can make it without having faith in a kind and a loving God.
That's right. I've often thought the same thing.
You know, how do you have a dream or a vision that sets the course of your life?
Well, basically, over the last 17 years, I've been working for a book company out of Florida that sends. They carry homeschool curriculum material around the country and proclaim, in a sense, a lifestyle of learning for the homeschool community. There's several basic philosophies of homeschooling, and this is just one. It's not necessarily the most popular one, but it's the one that has worked for me. And as I've traveled with that company and worked for them, I've seen I've been in face-to-face with a lot of families, and I've just gotten out and gotten a chance to be involved in a way so that I've been able to see things kind of from a different perspective. And then after several years, we moved and actually left society. I used to be a society editor at one point in my life, but now I've left society. Yeah. And so we live out in the middle of 44 acres in a log house with no neighbors. And so a lot of people say, well, how do you know what's happening and how do you get your vision when you live out in the middle of nowhere? And I don't know exactly, except for the fact that I've just been traveling for so many years that I've seen things in people. And what I've seen in the last couple of years, like in the last 15 or 20 years, is like a revival occurring. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is that when homeschooling started just about 20 years ago, moms were saying something's not right here. It basically started when they took God out of the school system. Yeah. It was like God said, okay, if you're not going to teach my children how to read the Bible, they don't need to know how to read. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden the standardized test scores just started plummeting, and every year they've gone down and gotten worse and worse and worse. Well, pretty soon the moms started seeing that something was going on with their kids, and so they started deciding to homeschool and spend more time with them and focus on them and all that. And then along the way, some men started seeing the same thing and started becoming more involved in the lives of their children. And just recently, probably in the last 5 years, I've just seen a huge a revival, in a sense, of men deciding that they're going to be part of their family. Actively, not just to be the provider and all that, protector, but they've always been. But they actually want to come home and work at home. They want to work with their children and help them get educated for preparing for their life's work and all that. And it's really been fascinating to me. I mean, we probably have half men. We have 800 people on our Yahoo group right now, and half of those are probably men. Wow. Which is unheard of on a Yahoo group, because you generally have them as a bunch of women chatting or a bunch of men talking about sports or something. So I love that. But I just see that what they're doing is they're regaining their position as the active patriarch of the family. And in the last verse last chapter in the book of Malachi in the Old Testament, it says that in the last days you're going to have the hearts of the fathers turn to their children, and I think that's what's happening. I think we're in an end time period in history, and what started off with these moms is now branching off into the men, and the men are picking up the responsibility for their children that I think God put on them, and they're totally dedicated to raising up their children and making them be successful in whatever way that is. And one thing that I see that we can do is by teaching them to be business owners and investors instead of just employees. They have so much more potential for making a lot of money, making an impact in their world, doing something different like Armand is. I mean, I can't imagine Armand being an employee. And I don't think he would make it. I think actually Armand is probably unemployable. Probably so. Out of it, more than likely. But I want to bring people like Armand and Alex and you and others that are like people in your Heroes programs, your program, to the young people of the world and hold them up and say, look, you can do this too. Be challenged. Do something different with your life. Don't just be content to have a menial job that anybody can do, but God put you on this earth for a reason. Find out what that purpose is and then pursue it and do the best you can with it and make a difference. Like Thomas Edison, when he left, He left General Electric behind him.
Yeah.
You know, I tell people all the time, think about what you're leaving behind you. Leave something like General Electric behind.
That's so true, isn't it? You know, it's amazing. Well, that's why I created the Heroes program, just to give the kids the knowledge and the information on how everything works in society and in business and keeping the wealth that they make that I didn't have. It's taken me 56 years almost to figure all that stuff out. If I would have known this stuff when I was in elementary school or even in high school, I would have been able to retire by the time I was 21.
Oh, exactly. Well, I took two of my boys to a conference one time for them to learn Dreamweaver, and somebody from the local school board was there, and they made a comment to me because it was on a Thursday, and he said, "What are these boys doing out of school?" And I said, "Well, actually, we homeschool, but I brought them to this one-day seminar so they could learn Dreamweaver and Flash from an expert." And they said, he said, "Well, they should be in school now." And I said, "Well, don't you think that what they're going to learn in this class where this expert has come from Pennsylvania to teach them Dreamweaver and Flash, which is going to help them create websites, is more important than what they would be learning if they were sitting in a classroom right now?" And he stopped for a second, and he thought, and he said, "Yeah, I think you're right." So finally, you know, what I tell people is take your kids with you into educational situations and to conferences where they can learn from other people all kinds of different things, because that's real learning, that's practical, and the things that they're going to learn at a conference are generally what has worked for somebody else. And
well, that's so true. And you know, I've been in situations where I've had a lot of misfortunes, setbacks, and mistakes, and I know that you have too. How important is it to take a positive view of setbacks, misfortunes, and mistakes? Well,
I think it's absolutely critical because it seems like good and evil often weave through life together like parallel train tracks.
Yeah.
And so whenever something really bad happens, you can just look around and you'll find the good thing right there next to it. When I go to a lot of these conferences, unfortunately, I see a lot of men who are 50, 40, 60, 70 years old sometimes.
Yeah.
And they'll say, "Boy, I'm so glad to see you bring your boys. I wish I had had this information when I was their age. I would be in a totally different place in my life now," like you just said a minute ago. And that's it, you know. But when you make a mistake or when you realize that things are not like you hope they would be or that they're not like you want them to be, all you can do is just say, okay, if I have to forgive myself or forgive somebody else for not leading me in the right direction, I'm going to do that. Just stop and forgive and get it over with. And then just keep going forward. And don't sit there and dwell on the past and say, oh, my life is ruined and it's all because of so-and-so or whatever happened in my life. But to just say, okay, that's behind me. Now what's in front of me? And keep going. And then figure out what you have to do to overcome the mistake or to correct the situation or whatever and keep on going. I think the biggest mistake anybody ever makes is not moving. If you're moving in the wrong direction, at least you're moving. Then you can correct. Yeah. But if you're not moving at all, you're just idle and you're just sitting around watching other people do stuff, then you're not really going anywhere. And if you look at a river, the water that's flowing is going somewhere. It's coming from a source and it's going to the ocean. But the water that gets kind of off on the side and gets kind of over there in those little pools of eddies where it just kind of sits and it doesn't really move, those often stagnate and get a lot of scum that grows up on the top of them, and pretty soon they begin to stink. And that's, you know, I just look at that analogy a lot of times when I'm considering where I'm going and what I'm doing. I just look at that and I think, you know, I can either get in the middle of this river or I can take off and I can go fast because I'm a fast person. I do everything fast. Yeah. Or I can just get over there on the side and just stagnate and just watch everything else happen, and I can just stop and just watch TV and just veg out, which I like to take rest every once in a while, but I'm talking about on a regular basis. And if you get over there on the side and you're just watching everything happening, it's safe over there. Yeah. It's not as dangerous as it is in the middle of a river with a strong raging current, but yet you're not accomplishing anything. There's no adventure. There's no fun. There's no nothing. Nothing is happening. And so I encourage people all the time to, you know, take your kids with you and jump out there in the middle of the river and go do something. Wow, that's amazing. Well, you know, you've changed your lifestyle and just changed your focus quite a number of times. Did you find that it took a lot of courage to pursue new ideas? Oh, I'm pretty much a courageous person, but when I was in school, up until high school, I was a very shy person. And when I was in high school, there was a kid in our class that was a clown. And he used to do such funny things and drive this one teacher crazy. So when I went to college, I started trying a couple of things that he did with one teacher that we had that we liked to play with. And all of a sudden I found myself overcoming my shyness. And then I also got saved when I was in college, and so I just started changing from the inside out, and I just started becoming more secure with who I am as a person, and just realized that people they're either going to like me or they're not going to like me. And if they don't like me, I can't worry about it. And if I can do something to make them like me by making them laugh or helping them or serving them or, ministering to them in some kind of way, whatever I can, then they're going to like me better. And so I just decided that I could sit around and have a bad attitude, or I could decide that I was going to have a good attitude and encourage other people to have a good attitude as well. And the more I read the Bible, I've never really been much of a churchgoer. I wasn't really raised in church. But as I read the Bible, I started changing from the inside out, and I started realizing that life is short, and the more you can contribute to it, the better. Mm-hmm. And so I just decided that I wasn't going to look at me. I wasn't going to look at fear. I wasn't going to worry about all the things that could happen or what people might say, or because they're going to talk anyway. They might as well talk about what you're doing instead of just talking about that you're not doing anything. And so I just decided to get up and take off and go. And then, of course, when you have as many babies as I've had, you have to deal directly with fear, because having a baby is an awesome experience. And one of my children weighed 12.3. Whoa. And I'm not a very big person. I'm only about 5'4" and weigh about 135 pounds. So to have a 12.3 baby, and I had that baby at home with a midwife, was a
That's a miracle.
Yeah, it was a miracle, and it was a huge act of faith. And then I had my 7th baby in the bathtub. I had a water birth.
Oh, wow.
And that was another step of faith. And so, as I've tested God, in a sense, He's come through every time, and I've never had a problem or a complication or anything in pregnancy, and I've had seven in a row, totally perfect, healthy babies, and most of the boys weighed over 10 pounds. Wow. And it just tends to increase your faith when you experience what would you call it?
The miracles.
Success. Yeah, you experience miracles. You experience success on a daily basis like that. It just increases your faith and makes you stronger to keep on going.
Yeah. Well,
so when new things come along, I don't tend to be afraid. I look at it as an adventure. I mean, I look at all of life as an adventure, and I'm taking my kids on it with me, and I hope they're having a good time.
Yeah, that's really amazing. Well, a lot of people are paralyzed by fear. They seem to fear just doing anything because they think they're going to fail. I know a lot of the other heroes that I've talked to, they said that the more you fail and learn from your experiences, the faster you become successful. What do you believe about that?
Oh, absolutely. That is so true. I think Robert Kiyosaki talks about that a lot. He says, failure is part of life. It's all a matter of what you do with it. You've got to just decide that it's going to happen and get up and get over with it and learn from your mistakes, because that's how you learn. Everybody learns. When you're learning to walk, if the baby stood up and then fell down and said, "Oh, that didn't work, I'll never do that again," then he'd never learn to walk. Yeah. But he's got to keep trying and keep trying, and it's from exercising those leg muscles and those back muscles that give him the strength to walk. And I look at we live on a farm out here. We have chickens in the back a lot, and they're always having babies. And I look at those little chicks trying to hatch out those eggs, and I think, it's the struggle to get out of the egg that makes them strong enough to live once they get out of it. Yeah. And so, everything that happens for us is for a reason. And the main thing we have to remember is to maintain the right attitude about things that happen, especially when they're negative and we don't like them.
Boy, isn't that the truth? Well, everybody experiences discomfort in their lives, and it seems that one of the biggest areas we get discomfort in is when we're trying to pursue our dream. It seems that so many people in our lives don't want us to change. They don't want us to pursue our dreams because it threatens our relationship with them. What gave you the ability to experience the discomfort to pursue your dream?
Well, I'd have to say just the Lord living in me, because every time I ever get into a situation where I'm not sure what's fixing to happen or where I'm going or what's around the corner, I just have to pray, and I just say, okay, Lord, I know you're leading my life, and I have to trust you to lead me in the right direction. And then I just get strength from that. And what I do is I read the Bible every day in the morning, and then I have my day timer right beside me, and then I have another book, whatever. I'm always reading several other books because I've found that I have to encourage myself, especially as a mother. Mom is the center of the wheel. She's the hub in the center of the wheel. She makes everything go. And if she's out of balance, then the wheel is going to roll lopsided.
Yeah.
And so I found that I have to be focused on me first.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds selfish, but it's the same mentality of if you're in the airplane and the things drop from the ceiling and there's a crisis, the stewardess always says, put the air mask on you first and then on your child second, because that way you can take care of the child. So what I do is I commit the first part of my day, every day, to taking care of me. I get up and I read my Bible, I write everything down in my day timer that I have to do, and I prioritize everything. And then as I'm reading, the Lord speaks to me, and He'll tell me things. And as He tells me things, I write those down in the appropriate place. I have a notebook where I keep stuff, notes and articles that I write and things. And then I have my day timer, which has got my to-do list and things for other people to do. And then I just enjoy that time, and it just gives me strength. I read in the Old Testament and the New Testament and in Proverbs every day. And then I read some other book as well. A lot of times they're spiritual in nature, but sometimes it's internet marketing or eBay or something like that. Yeah. But mainly what I'm doing is I'm feeding myself, because if you don't feed yourself spiritually and mentally, then you're going to shrivel up and die and wither away and have a bad attitude. And then if I ever have a hard time in life, I'll just retreat to my bed, basically, and I'll read for several hours. And you just have to, you can't lean on anybody else to take care of you in life and feed you. You have to take care of yourself. And I found that as soon as I discovered that little truth about life and quit leaning on other people to feed me, even pastors, I started doing a lot better.
Boy, isn't that absolutely true? Who was able to give you the willpower to change the things in your life? I know that God's an important factor. Was there anybody else who was able to help you have the willpower to make changes?
Well, actually, I can't contribute it to any one person, but I know that there's been very many people in my life that have been influences. I just think that, as you go through life, it's like a pinball machine. You just bump into one person and another and another and another and another, and you gain from each one of those. There's been a lot of people that have encouraged me. I guess my dad probably was one. He was not a Christian man until right before he died. He accepted the Lord, but he was one of the smartest men I ever met in my entire life. And he basically just told me that you can do whatever you want to go do. It's just a matter of if you make up your mind to go do it. And my mom was also a very strong person too. She was a planner. She's the one that I've gotten my conference promotion skills from, because she was all the time organizing events and putting groups together and all that. And she was just not afraid to jump out and go try something new. And she was fearless, and my dad was smart. And I just think that they just set me on a real good path, and I've learned a lot from them. And then now I mentioned a minute ago that I've got my boys in a mastermind group. I for a long time felt like that was a very, very important thing to do, and I really couldn't find anybody. I didn't know of one that was in existence that we could belong to. So when Armand and Alex mentioned that they were going to have their AM Squared Platinum Club, I just called them and I said, I have to do this. I just have to do this with you guys. And so there's only like 20 of us in the whole Platinum Club, but it's been an awesome thing, because I basically have brought my boys into contact with Rick Raditz, who developed the software behind the audio and video generators, and then Alex and Armand and Paul Colligan and Stu McLaren and people like that. You learn so much from just being around people like that. They're never going to tell you that what you're thinking won't work unless they know it won't work. They're going to figure out how to help you make things work. But just being around people that have a mindset like that, I think we've probably grown in the last 2 years more than anything from being connected with Alex and Armand and Rick Raditz. Rick is a sleeper. Alex and Armand, everybody knows everybody knows they're awesome, but Rick is absolutely phenomenal. When he gives advice, it's phenomenal. He has really helped me specifically a lot more, and if anybody's interested in learning more about that, you can go to am-2gold.com, because they have a new program now for other people to be part of a gold club, where it's not one where you meet with them one-on-one, or actually it's our group that gets together 3 times a year, and I think that's closed now, I'm not real sure, but they also have this gold level that's kind of a secondary level, and what they do is have things that are on the internet, more like teleconference calls, programs like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I just recently interviewed Rick. I used my video camera to videotape him, and I thought that it was the correct thing to do since he created instant video generator. So I did his audio generator for his interview and did instant video generator. So you can actually see his Heroes interview on the site in both formats. He really is.
Great.
He really is an amazing guy. And
he is.
You know, as you go through life, there's a lot of people that offend you, that upset you, that oppose you. How important is it to forgive those people?
Oh, that's the key. I keep saying that is the key, but that is another key, because the biggest thing that can happen in a person's life is if they get mean and bitter and resentful. And because the bitterness will eat you up from the inside out. It affects your health. It affects your attitude. It affects everything about your life. And when you go to a conference, you can sense this the easiest. You can walk up to somebody and immediately tell what direction they're going in by the attitude they have and by the way they introduce themselves to you.
Yeah.
And generally at conferences, you'll run into more positive people than you run into negative. But there's still some there that are skeptical, or they don't know what they don't know what to expect, or who this crowd is, or anything like that. But basically, having a negative attitude or having a bitter spirit or whatever comes from unforgiveness.
Yeah.
That you're holding on to something. I mean, somebody somewhere has done something in your life that you're still holding on to, and you can't get past it. And so you've got to search down inside and find out who it is that you haven't forgiven, and then go to that person and just call them on the phone if you have to, if they've moved away or you've moved away, and just get it worked out, because it's not worth losing your health over, and that's what happens. A lot of times it's our parents, a lot of times it's our spouse or our brother or sister, and as long as you keep harboring feelings like that, especially like towards your brothers and sisters, you're going to keep running into people that are just like them, and you're going to say, "Oh, I don't want to work with you. You remind me of my brother." Well, if that's the way it is, then it might be that God is bringing those people to you on a regular basis and trying to help you deal face to face with that, so that you can say, "Look, I need to stop and get that." Give that forgiveness in my life, so that I can go forward and I can go on and get past this, and then maybe those people will quit coming to you. I don't know.
That's funny. I've had the same difficulty in my life of being forgiving of things that have happened to me in the past. And I went to Mark Victor Hansen's, actually I was at his talk. I was taking the photos of him at your Entrepreneur Days seminar, and he passed out those rubber bands where you snap your wrist every time you have a negative thought or a thought of unforgiveness. And I've been using that, and it's amazing how fast you can turn your whole perspective from one of negative to positive by snapping yourself when those bad thoughts pop into your head.
Absolutely. And the hardest person you have to forgive is yourself.
Yeah.
Because you'll say, "Oh, I made a wrong decision," or "I did this wrong," or "I went to the wrong place," or whatever, and now because I made that decision, everything's ruined, or that person doesn't like me anymore, or whatever, and you just kick yourself. Well, I'm the biggest person in the world to do things like that, and I've learned a long time ago that you can either stay in a hole and feel sorry for yourself over the mistake you made, or you can get up and go on and fix it, or do something else.
Yeah.
But you have to forgive yourself. That's the bottom line.
Boy, that's so true. I know I really enjoyed Mark's presentation at your entrepreneurdays.com, and actually I created a site, entrepreneurdaysphotos.com, where you can actually see the photos of Mark and everybody that was at your conference. And who is that guy? He had a great testimonial that was on the thing with Troy
McClain.
Yeah.
He was on The Apprentice, Donald Trump's show on NBC.
Yeah, what a great story
he was our other keynote. Yeah.
That was
great
amazing.
guy. And he actually has gone back to college because Donald Trump offered him a scholarship opportunity, because he was the only one that did not have a college degree on that particular program. And so after it was over, he went back to Donald and he said, "Okay, I'll take you up on that deal." So he's now enrolled in college somewhere, and Donald Trump's paying for it.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Everybody has a lot of problems and difficulties in their lives. I know you have a strong relationship with God. What power does prayer have in your daily life? Oh,
that's absolutely everything. That's it. Because the way I see it is, you can either live your life with the Lord, and He can direct you and live His life through you and steer you, and you can go in a positive direction, or you can basically live it yourself and do what you want to do. But I think you'll be miserable, because I think that we were basically created to have fellowship with God. That's our whole purpose for being here. And He wants to speak to us. He wants to be present in our lives, but He also wants to be engaged in our lives. He wants to interact with us. That's what the whole purpose of being on earth is. And so prayer is just not something that you just do like for 5 minutes a day and get on your knees beside your bed. It's it's a state of mind. It's what you live in. It's continually having a relationship with the Lord, of knowing when you make any decisions. I mean, like, when you're driving, when you're at the store, you're just constantly saying, is this right, is this right, is this right? Or lead me and provide for me and show me, and little things like that. And nothing memorized and formal. I mean, there's a time for that, but it's just a daily, minute-by-minute kind of thing. It's a state of mind that you just live in.
How important is it to maintain a sense of humor in the face of serious problems? And raising 7 kids, I'm sure it's crucial to maintain a sense of humor, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, you can imagine what your life is like when you have 1 or 2 kids, and the things they break and the things they bring in the house, like frogs, and the things they put in the dryer. But when you multiply that and you have 7 kids all doing crazy things, I mean, it's just a zoo. And so that was one of the reasons why we moved to the country. I mean, we just wanted to get away from the standard American life in the neighborhood, so we can get out and have some space and have all the animals we want and all the land we want and the trees to climb and all that stuff, because it's life is just too short. You've got to laugh at what comes along, or else you go crazy. And you've also got to expand your boundaries and have a little bit of margin in your life, so that you have the freedom to live the life that you want to and that you need. And but laughing at everything is just, I mean, I've developed a sense of humor. A lot of times people can't tell it, but over the years, because you have to. I mean, milk spills at every meal. I mean, it happens.
Yeah, I know. I'm working with my dad, and he's paralyzed on one side, and he keeps on knocking his milk over on the table, and or you try to put it out of his reach or whatever, or he just knocks it over. I don't know what that is about, but you just clean it up and give it back to him, and you just have to love him for doing the best that he can. I'm sure it's that same way with kids.
Yeah, it is. And also, old people are a lot like children, little babies.
Yeah.
Their hand-eye coordination sometimes doesn't always match for whatever reason, and you have to kind of help them through those stages. And my father-in-law lives with us now, and so we have all spectrums of people living with us, little kids and older people, and I think that's the way it should be. I
do too.
I don't think life should be age segregated. I think it should be where, in reality, you have old people interacting with younger people. And I would really much rather have my children learn from people who are wise and mature and experienced in life, rather than from having them learn from their peers. Because a lot of times your friends will lead you astray, and they tend to be not always wise, and they don't always tend to have your best interest at heart, too. Yeah.
Well, I know that the sense of family has sort of been eliminated in the United States, as far as going from childhood, having the parents around, and then completing the cycle where the kids actually take care of the parents. I know I'm in that situation now. I was the only kid in my family that was able to actually change my life completely, to come back and stay with my parents. How important do you think it is to have kids see life and also go through the process of seeing their loved ones die?
Oh, wow. It's all part of life, and I think that when we divorce our children from the reality, we're not doing them a favor. We're actually hindering their maturity, because death is part of life, and children are responsible to take care of their parents. I think that's just the way it should be. I don't think that's something that we should delegate off to nursing homes or other institutions unless we absolutely have to, because we're just not able to. And I admire what you're doing with your parents. I know you've made a huge sacrifice. You've even sold your house and moved from Texas to California to be with them, and I think that's an incredible thing that you've done. But, I feel like our society hasn't placed as much emphasis on that as they should, but it's definitely our responsibility. And the way I look at it is I took care of them when they were little bitty, and then when I get to the point in life when the roles are reversed, like you said, and I am the one that has the needs, and I hope that I've trained my children up to be mature enough and self-sacrificing enough that they'll give back. And maybe, hopefully, out of the 7, maybe one of them will come through. I don't know.
Yeah, well, isn't that funny how, if parents raise their kids to be good people, the kids remain good people, and when the parents are in need, the kids, because they are good people, actually show up and do what God requires them.
Yeah, that's right. And we delegate a lot of things off in society in different ways, and it's really the family's responsibility, because I see the family as being the core element of the church, basically, of God's kingdom on earth.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do people actually become heroes?
Well, actually, I think probably by just doing something, by just taking action, by just setting their personal feelings and wants aside, seeing a need, and just being strong enough to overcome the fear and temptation to be lazy or whatever, just step out and do something. I think it's a matter of following a vision. And one thing that I've realized is that a lot of people don't have any vision. I think that's why so many people don't know what they want to do in their life, and they end up just in some kind of a rut job making money because they don't have a vision. They don't really know what they want. They're not in touch with what's inside of their heart, and vision only comes from God. And so, I think it's like the carrot that God dangles out in front of us to try to make us seek Him more. You have to keep coming to Him to get that vision. And but once you understand who you are, and once you understand what you want, whatever that might be, what you want to do, then it's easier to step out and act in faith because you know that you're going in a particular direction. And so if you see a person that's in need, or in a physical realm, or in a mental or spiritual or on a website, whatever it is, different realms, then if you're able to help that person, then you have the strength and the courage to do it, and you have the right motives to do it, because you're only trying to help other people and further their life as well as yours.
Well, do you think that the school system is set up to crush the visions that kids have of being successful and accomplishing great things? Do you think the school system, just by rote, tries to turn them all into employees? Well,
basically that is the goal. I've never been quick to criticize the system, because for what it does a good job. It does a good job of creating good employees, and that's what the purpose of it is. The United States government is the largest employer in America, and so it has to create employees to fill positions that it has. And so that's what it does, and it does the job. But what it does is creates employees. And so when I started homeschooling and I realized everybody was just basically doing what the public schools were doing, I looked at that and I said, wait a minute, we have the freedom to do anything that we want to within certain boundaries. And why are we replicating a system that's producing something that may not be what we want? So I just said, let's go a different direction and see if there's something else we can do. And I found some people to support me legally, so that I could have the freedom to do that, because homeschooling is regulated by states. And so we just started experimenting and trying some things, and when we started having success, especially with Drew, I was just so surprised, and I started reading Robert Kiyosaki and Michael Gerber and Mark Richard Hansen and things like that, and I started realizing that there was a whole other world out there that I hadn't really seen, being from an education family. And so I started thinking, I should pursue this. I should learn more about all this stuff and train my children to think differently. Then my oldest boy, went to spend a month with Christopher Hay in Idaho, who was an entrepreneur who retired when he was about 28. And he was the first one that taught Drew to think differently. And Drew basically brought the mindset home to me. I picked it up, applied it to education, and now I'm spreading it to other people. So Chris has actually become one of our main speakers at our conferences, and he's a stock market expert, so he also has a course where he teaches others about how to invest in the stock market. Because, that's part of life, too. We're supposed to learn how to invest. The Bible commands us, in a sense, to do that. And the parable of the talents talks about that. Yeah, that's one of those things that we aren't taught in school, because basically it's just not part of the employee mindset. And so I have had a lot to learn. Even though I have a degree in education, I've had a lot to learn about education. And so what I'm doing is I'm applying all this to a new realm of homeschooling. Homeschooling and public education are not the same at all. Because in public school, the main thing you have to learn to do is control a crowd and manage a classroom of 30 to 150 kids.
Yeah.
And that takes a certain amount of skill, and there's a whole way that goes along with that. But when you're at home and you have maybe 1, 2, 3 students, or 10 or 15, like some of my friends have, it's a tutoring situation, and it's different. It's not the same ball game at all. It's like comparing apples and oranges. And so once you can get over the fear that your children are not going to be total failures in life, and can let go of what you learned in public school from what your education was and the model that you were raised with, and try something new and implement a few new things and develop a new mindset, you'll be surprised what can happen. We have a web tech class right now that has, I think, about 6 or 7 young people in it, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds. They are doing so much better than their parents are doing because they are quick to pick up on this stuff, and they don't have preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing that Drew and I have noticed is that when we speak to groups, the children receive what we have to say much faster and much easier than the adults do, because the adults have the employee mindset that they were raised with.
Mm-hmm. Well, how does it feel to be recognized as an Internet hero?
Well, actually, Ralph, it's embarrassing. Because I'm really surprised you even asked me to do this interview, because I don't consider myself as a hero. I consider myself basically as a renegade, and I'm just hiding out here in the woods on my farm, doing my thing with my kids, and doing a little email every once in a while, and just, hoping to make an impact on my little world as I can, but with no grand illusions of anything bigger than that. But I really don't consider myself a hero, so I have no clue why you've asked me to do this.
Well, it's funny. With the definition of the hero that you gave us, you're probably the consummate hero, because you're following your dreams of providing your kids the opportunity that you never had, and took the courage to basically do the right thing, even though it was hard, and you're just striving for your vision and giving your kids an opportunity to see visions in action. Don't you think that kids look at people do and listen to what they say, but more so they see if people are walking the walk rather than just talking the talk?
Absolutely. And that's why I try to bring to them at the conference that we have every year people who are successful. One of my qualifications that I haven't been able to totally meet, but I'm aiming at, is I want everybody that I bring to them to be a millionaire. But they can't just be any millionaire. They have to be a man of character or a woman of character, because I'm trying to bring to them people that they can look at and emulate, people that they can say, I want to be like that guy when I grow up. I want to do what that guy is doing when I grow up. And they may not make as much money as that person's currently making, or they make more. I don't know. Whatever they want to do is okay. But what I feel responsible to do is to bring heroes to them, so that they can say, look, there's nobody in my community like this, or there's nobody in my church, or there's nobody in my neighborhood that's like this. But I met Armin Morin when I was in Dallas, and he shook my hand, and he remembered my name, and now I listen to him on conference calls every once in a while, and I go see him at his seminars, and I mean, there's just no telling what kind of an impact that some of these guys can make in these young guys' lives. But it's all about mentors. I really think that there's a huge factor there, that making a positive impact on other people's lives is a very rewarding thing, and I just enjoy the challenge of going out there and finding these experts that I can bring to the young people in the homeschool community.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, what are the things parents can do that will help their children realize that they too can be heroes and make a positive impact on the lives of others?
Well, parents they have an incredible opportunity to train their children to be serious contributors to society instead of being dependent on it. And so many kids that I've seen and dealt with in the past have felt like society owed them something. And when I see that attitude, I just think it basically sometimes comes from the way that we raise our kids. We don't expect them to contribute to the family. They're constantly waited on all the time, and then we not even say things to them like the government owes us. We pay so much tax money that they owe us something back. I don't know. Yeah. It's just being irresponsible. I think we should be contributors to whatever it is that we're involved with. Like when we go to church, so many people say, "Well, we went to church this Sunday and we heard the sermon and we didn't get anything out of it. Why did we even go? We didn't get fed." And I think, well, you should go to church to worship God and to contribute to the lives of the people that are there, including the pastor. He's doing his job. He's doing what he's being paid for, but it's not his responsibility to feed his entire congregation once a week. Everybody should be feeding themselves every day, and then they should all get together once a week to have a celebration and, do all the things that you do in church. But we should have that attitude towards everything. And so many times we have the wrong attitude where we go to get, we go to receive, but we never give back. Everything in life is give and take. And when you have a relationship with somebody, you get a whole lot more out of it if you give something to it. And, people have mentioned that to me about joint ventures before. They've come and they've talked about that whole, the whole business model of doing a joint venture. And somebody that's brand new might go to Arm & Morn and say, well, will you do a joint venture with me? And his first question is going to be, what do you have to bring to the table? Mm-hmm. Now, if you have expert knowledge on something, but you don't have the product or whatever, he can help you put all that together. But if you're just a dime a dozen, if you're just another internet marketer or whatever, there won't be anything for your side of the relationship, so there's really not a reason to do that type of a joint venture. But when you have something to give and somebody has something different to give, then you can put those two opposites together and come up with a win-win situation. And so the way that I look at life is that you should always focus on having something to give. If you don't have a product to give or something, you can give of yourself. You can be a good person. You can serve. You can encourage. You can laugh. You can help. You can organize. There's a lot of things, a lot of ways to contribute without actually giving money or a product or something like that. But it all depends on what the other person wants. I read a book by Robert Allen several years ago called Nothing Down about real estate, which made a huge impact in my life. That was the thing that planted the desire in me to become a real estate investor 20 years ago. And what he basically says is in all negotiations, the bottom line is, the key is, to find out what the other person wants. It might not be that they want money. It might be that they want to get rid of their house. It might be that they want to buy a new boat. Well, if you happen to have a boat, then you might be able to give them your boat for the down payment instead of them taking money and go buying a new boat. It's all a matter of finding out what the other person wants. And so that's being a contributor to any relationship, I think, is key. And parents can do that in so many ways.
So many parents are brainwashed by their parents, and it's just a never-ending chain of parents just following down a path of failure and telling their kids that love of money is the root of all evil. Well, actually, they say money is the root of all evil rather than the love of money, which is the correct one.
Right.
Or just telling them that you're stupid or you'll never succeed or get a job or any of those things. And I think that probably financial difficulties are one of the greatest strains on the family. How important do you think your program is for helping people alleviate that one huge problem?
Well, I think it's critical because, for one thing, when families start getting larger, like the homeschool families tend to do, there is a financial strain on the family. So when young people can learn how to make money from home, especially on the internet, that's the easiest place to do it. Then they can contribute to the family, and then Dad can even learn to work his way out of where he is so that he can come home and be part of the family. We have one father that's on our Yahoo group, Michael Schultz, who lives in New York, and he has 10 children currently, and he basically started doing eBay a couple of years ago and came home from work, and so now his family just does eBay full time. They have a couple other things that they're doing. They wrote an ebook. They found some expensive titles that people were looking for in the rare children's book market, and so they put that ebook together and they sell that online. And she has a little Yahoo group too, and it works for them. And they've come to a couple of our conferences, and he and his wife Juliana. And so to me, when I see a family that's actually put stuff into action and implemented the ideas and things that we talk about at some of our conferences and on our Yahoo group, well, it just thrills me no end. I mean, it's because I think that you don't have to live in financial bondage. Yeah. And as long as you're an employee working for somebody else, there's only two things you can do. You can spend less or you can wait for a pay raise. But if you're not in charge of your own life, if you're not the Lord of your life, if you're a slave to somebody else, then you can't get that pay raise. So what I try to encourage people to do is what Robert Kiyosaki talks about that his rich dad taught him in the Rich Dad's cash flow quadrant, and that is to, instead of being an employee or a self-employed person on the left side of the quadrant, to move to the other side and become a business owner or an investor, where you have your business or your investment operating and creating passive income for you instead of your employer paying you or yourself working yourself to death as a self-employed person, where you're never going to ever really create serious wealth. I love John Childers' Wealth Academy, where he teaches people how to, he talks about creating money, managing your money, and protecting your money. And he said, nobody teaches you that in school.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are some of the things that we encourage people with the educational program that we're trying to develop in the future. I mean, we haven't got anything put together right now. We're just at the beginning of all that, because what I'm trying to do is put together the thoughts and the philosophies and the resources and all that go along with this whole type of thinking for young people, because it's not there. It's not out there.
Yeah.
And so what I call it is entrepreneurial education, and it's for the junior high and high school kids of America, so that they don't end up in the rut where so many of their parents are and found themselves.
Well, John Childers, he's one of my heroes, and so I hope to be interviewing him shortly too, because
he's awesome. That's
one of the goals of the In Search of Heroes program, is to provide the kids all the information they need to be successful now, and also protect their assets and create a future that isn't filled with financial strife and just massive financial failure. And I know that that's an integral part of what you think parents should do, is to learn how to be successful in the world and follow down that path and then share that with their kids.
Absolutely.
Well, you know, Ray, I know you're a busy person, and I really appreciate you taking your time to do this interview with me, and I really just congratulate you on setting a path that should help millions of families throughout the world in a very short period of time.
Well, I appreciate you having me on your call, Ralph, and I'm still not sure exactly why.
Well,
but you are my hero.
Well, I think after people listen to your interview that they'll realize exactly why I did invite you to be one of my heroes. And I intend to get Drew on the phone, too, because he's one of my heroes, too, for setting such a great example for young people. So tell him to get a hold of me just to interview him. So
I sure will.
I want you to have a good day.
Okay, great.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Ralph.
Bye.
Bye.